Good afternoon. Welcome to another class of Excel. Welcome to another Microsoft Excel class. I'm still your instructor, Tolulope Toluwade, and today we will continue from where we stopped last week. We did quite a number of things last week. We started with the basics of Excel last week, and I remember we stopped at basic formulas in Excel last week. So there are quite a number of formulas in Excel. So we are still going to, in our subsequent classes, we'll talk about other formulas. I remember last week we talked about the basics of Excel. I told you we talked about the tabs, the different tabs in Excel. We talked about the we talked about the basic parts of Excel. We talked about the cells, how to name a cell, how to reference a cell is the same thing. And we also talked about the basic formulas in Excel. All right, so I'm going to continue from where we stopped last week. Now, remember we did basic addition in Excel last week. We talked about addition, average, count, okay, and the likes. So I'm sure you remember how we added. Now look at this. Look at this data. Now let me maximize this so you can see. Okay. All right. I think everyone can see this clearly. Now look at this data. Look at this data set. Now, can you see something here? Before I continue, can you see something here? That this you can see this sign. It's like this is supposed to be March 2019, but we have this sign there, ash sign. Now this is telling you to increase the size of this column. Anytime you see this in Excel, it means you should increase the size. So look at how I'm going to do it. Okay, I'm going to put my cursor just by the side of this column, and I will drag it to increase the size. See what's going on? Can you see? You now have your you have your match there. So sometimes in Excel, when you're doing your data analysis and all that, you may encounter something like this, and you'll be wondering what's this. So just know that Excel is telling you to expand it. It's telling you that's too narrow to show the value there. So just expand it, the value come. All right. So last week we talked about how to do basic calculations in Excel. Now there's an interesting thing that I want to point out here. Now, remember last week we talked about a very convenient way of doing the calculations of in Excel. Now, if you want to, very interesting fact here. If you want to, all right, sorry. Remember we talked about how to calculate the sum of, for example, this column. Remember how we did the addition. Now, in Excel, if you want to know the kind of formula used in a calculation, just click on that cell. When you click on that cell, go to the formula bar. It's going to show you. Can you see? Can you see the formula bar where the cursor is? Can you see the formula bar? This one is showing you because I clicked in this. I click in this cell, and it's showing you the exact formula in that cell. Sum F4. Can you see F4? This is F4 to F9. Okay. Now, there's an interesting thing I want to point out here now. Remember we did cell, I taught you how to do it. I mean, this is a very fast way of summing up values instead of picking each cell one after the other. Okay. An interesting thing is sometimes when you are doing data analysis, sometimes you will want to update your data set. You want to update your table. Now, let's take, for example, I forgot to add a particular bill in this data set. So I want to add a bill. Another bill. Let's take for example. Now, if you want to add something in Excel, so I want to add a bill to this data set. Now, what do? I'll need to insert a row. Now, if you want to insert a row to this data set, I want to insert, let's assume I want to insert a row between food and candy. So what I would do is I'll put my, I'll put my cursor, I want to insert a row between food and candy. I'll put my cursor at the very last edge of the candy. So it's going to highlight the whole candy row. So I'll put my cursor there, I'll right click, I'll go to insert, I'll click on insert. So a row is going to be added between food and candy. I hope you got that. So let's assume I want to add fuel. I used fuel for the month of January, February, March, and I forgot to add it. So I want to add fuel. So that's the way to add a column, a row. Let me put let's say 300. I'll click on enter. Now, when I did that, did you notice that this total changed? The total changed. Excel understood that I added a bill. And the moment I clicked on enter, the total changed. Did you notice that? The total changed because the way I added this column, I used cell references. Remember, we said last class that cell reference means means another word for cell reference is the name of the cell. And I taught you how to reference a cell. For example, this one is F4. You name the column first, then the row. Okay, this is column F. This so you say F. This is row 5. You understand? So this is F5. So because I added using the cell referencing. So Excel understands that if I add any other thing along that row, it will automatically add the value to the total. Now, let's take for example, let me show you something interesting. Let's say, for example, I did not use cell referencing. Okay, I did not add this total the way I did it. You understand? So for example, if I add individual cells together to get the total, see, this is what I mean. Let me delete this. Remember, you start with equal sign. If I add individual cells together, this one is H4 plus H5 plus H6 plus this plus H10. Now, so we can still get the total like that. Now, remember, if you want to check the formula in any cell, just click on that cell and you go to the formula bar to see the kind of formula written there. Can you see? Now, if I add another value here, see what's going to happen. You see, it did not change the total. It did not change the total. It did not change the total because I added the cells individually. I added them individually. I didn't use the cell referencing system like I used. So it is very good for you to add your values like this. Okay, like I taught you last week, it's very good for you to add like this. This is using cell referencing to add, because when you add any other thing later, it will automatically update it. Did you see it updated it automatically? So that's what interesting about adding values using cell referencing instead of adding it individually. I hope you got that. All right, another important topic we want to talk about today is absolute reference and relative reference. Let me start from absolute reference. Absolute reference simply means is a cell in Excel without the dollar sign in the in the row and column coordinates. A cell without the dollar sign. A cell that is free. Okay. For example, the cell where my cursor is C5. Remember, this is the name box. That is what will display the name of your cell that is currently being selected. If I select this, this is J5. Can you see it has changed? So this free cell or any cell, all cells are known as relative reference, as long as it does not have the dollar sign in it. Now you are going to understand all this more. Why will a cell have a dollar sign? That's what we want to talk about today in this section. All right, in this session rather. So the absolute reference in Excel refers to a reference that is locked or a cell that is locked so that rows and columns will not change when they are copied. Unlike a relative reference, an absolute reference refers to an actual fixed location on a worksheet or a location that has the dollar sign. Okay, we are going to understand all this as time goes on. So now let's do an interesting thing now. So let me show you an interesting thing in Excel. Now in Excel, there are times that you may want to copy a value and paste it somewhere else. So I'm sure you know the shortcuts for copy, Control C, paste in, Control V, and all that. So most shortcuts in Windows are similar if you use them in different softwares. All right. So, for example, let me do this. Let me copy this value. This value in F4. I want to copy it. Let me copy it in K4. Okay. So I'll click Control C now. So this is K4 Control V. You see? I've copied it. I've copied the value from here to this place, and it copied. Now this you see is serrated. You see serrated lines hovering around this cell. That is what happens when you click when you copy or you cut a cell in Excel. So if you want to eradicate these serrated lines, just click on Escape. So when you click on Escape, it goes. So can you see a basic copy and paste feature here? I copied this and it pasted into this. Now let me now show you something else. Let me copy the total here. Control C and paste it here. Control V. Oh, did you notice something? When I copied this formula, I mean this total, this is F11, right? When I copied it to this place, to K11, cell K11, it didn't copy the exact formula. I mean, it didn't copy the exact value in that cell. It copied 1,280. Why is that? Now, this is a basic fundamental, basic thing you must understand in Excel. When you copy ordinary values from cells into an empty cell, it will copy the exact value you copied into that empty cell. But when you copy a value in a cell that has formula, did you get that? Remember this total? We already added all these cells together and it gave us this total. So this total, there is a formula inside of the cell. Remember that. Another way you can remember is if you click on any cell, check the formula bar. What the formula bar will tell you if that cell has a formula or not. The name box will just show you the name of the cell, but the formula will let you know if there is a formula in that cell or not. So clicking on the formula, okay, let's just click on a random cell in January. Can you see when you go to the formula bar, it shows that there's no formula there. It is only displaying the value in that cell. But when I click on this total, it's displaying a formula there. So anytime you copy a cell that has a formula inside of it, okay, it will not copy the value in that cell. It will copy the formula. Now let's check this. Now look at the formula bar. Did you see the formula bar? This is where we copied this cell that has formula. If you check the formula bar, you discover that there is a formula in this empty cell we just copied into. Did you see that? So anytime you copy cells that has formulas in them, it will not copy the value in that cell. It will copy the formula in that cell. So now, in this empty cell, this empty cell where we copy the formula is showing 1,280. Why? Now let us look at the cell there. The formula there. The formula says or reads equals to sum K4 to K10. Did you see that? Sum K4 to K10. So remember the formula here is showing that anything above this cell, you sum it. So the same thing is showing here. It means anything above this cell, add it or sum it. So that is why it's showing K4 to K10. And because this is the only value above it, that is why it is sum. It is giving you this exact value. So this means 1,280 plus 0,0,0,0 equals this. If I put another value here, let's say I put another value 100, it automatically updates. Can you see? It has updated it. So remember, when you are copying values or you are copying cells, if it does not have a formula, it will copy the exact value in an empty cell. But if it has a formula in it, it will not copy the exact value, but it will copy the formula. All right. In this session, I'll teach you how to use the absolute reference. Okay, how to, like I said in the earlier previous video, how to absolute reference is a cell that is fixed or that has a dollar sign. So how do I fix a cell, or what does it mean to fix a cell? Now, let's say, for example, we want to find the percentage of this of each of these bills, the percentage that was, the percentage of each of these bills. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the total for each of these bills in the 3 months. In each month, you understand? We find the total. The total here is for the month of January. This is for the month of February. This is for the month of March. But here is the total for each bill for the 3 months. So we want to find the total. Remember, we're going to start with equals to sum into bracket. Then you select from here to this place. Close the bracket. You do the same thing for here, for this one, equals to sum. Just double click. Select from here. Close the bracket. Equals to sum the bracket. Now, when you do this a couple of times, you will get used to it and you won't forget easily. Okay. Equals to. So we've gotten the total for each rent. For each bill all the 3 months. Now, how do we find the of percentage of each of these bills, the percentage that was spent for each of these bills? Now, what you're going to do here, so what you do here, you divide each total by the grand total. Okay, did you get that? The total for each bill by the overall total. Okay, that's what you're going to do. I'm sure that's a simple maths, and you understand that. So this will be, you start with equal sign. Remember, equals to this. Okay, you want to find the percentage of this. It will be this. Use a slash button divided by this. Did you get that? Okay, so that is that. But this is giving us in decimal places. But I want it in percentage. How do I change this? Now, look at this number, the number subgroup. You see a percentage icon there. So just click on it. Make sure you click on this before you click on this. When you click on it, it will give you the percentage, 53%. It's as simple as that. So you want to do the same thing for this. That will be equals to this divided by this, right? To give you this. Now remember, change it to percentage by clicking. No. You see what happened there? You have to click on this cell before you click on this percentage. All right. Okay. So this equals to 350. This divided by this. Okay. Now this equals to this divided by this. So click on this, change it to the. All right. Now this is taking a lot of time. Okay. You can continue. Now let's say, for example, you have a lot of entries here. Let's say you have about 2,000 entries here. How are you going to do this? This will take a lot of time. That means you have to be doing it one after the other. There's a better way of doing that. And that's what I want to teach you now. That's what I want to teach you absolute reference now. So instead of doing it one after the other like this, it's going to take time. Maybe just delete everything. All right. What is a better way of doing this? This will lead us to absolute reference. Remember, I said absolute reference is a cell that in Excel that is fixed, or a cell that has the $ in it. Now, how do I do this? How do we do this? I want to do this percentage. I want to calculate the percentage of each of these entries in a very fast way. I don't want to be doing it one after the other. This is how I'm going to do it. Now, remember I said, of course, that's simple mathematics. If you want to calculate the percentage of something, you look at the fraction of that thing divided by the total. Okay? Divided by the total times 100. Okay, so I'm sure you understand that. You look at the total of that thing divided by the grand total times 100. That's how to find the percentage. So that's how we are dividing the total by the grand total and multiplying it by 100. Yes, when you click on this percentage icon, it will automatically multiply by 100 and give you, that's how it gave us the percentage. Now, if you want to do it in a fast way, let me introduce you to how to do that. That means you are going to turn this grand total cell to absolute reference. You are going to fix. Now, let me show you something here. Remember previous classes, we talked about the autofill feature. Remember the autofill feature? If you want to replicate this value now, for example, you want to replicate this value, number 3, you want to replicate it. So you just bring your cursor slide your cursor, hover your cursor around this cell until to the bottom part, bottom right part of the cell until a cross sign appears. Then drag it down. Okay, you are going to have it's going to replicate that. So that's the same thing we want to do here. We want to replicate the formula instead of finding the percentage one after the other. That's going to take a lot of time. So let's replicate the formula so that we're going to have everything together. Now, this is how we're going to do it. Remember, start with equal sign. This divided by the grand total. Okay? Did you get that? Now, 53%, because I've already changed this cell to percentage the other time when I clicked on this. All right. Now, if I want to replicate these formulas to the cells underneath, this is what I'm going to do. Remember what I taught you previously. If you want to, this is the same. Replicating cells underneath is the same as copying and pasting the formula underneath the cells. So remember, I said if you want to copy a cell, if that cell has a formula, it is that formula it is going to copy. It is not the value in that cell. Okay, so let me now use the autofill feature to populate the cells underneath, and let's see what happens. Wow, it's giving an error. Why is this giving an error? Now let's look at something interesting. When you click on this cell and you look at the formula bar, it says what? J4. This is J4. This is J4. So it says J4 divided by J11, right? So it's saying this divided by what? This. So let's now see, let's look at the other cells. This is saying J5 divided by J12. Where's J12? This is J12. There's nothing in J12. And when you divide anything by 0, it will give you an error. If you use your calculator now, okay, if you use your calculator now to divide anything by 0, okay, it will give you an error. All right. Now, so what do we do here? What is happening here? I thought that we said the other time that anytime you copy, remember when you use the autofill feature, it's like copying and pasting. Remember that. 3. Okay? If you use the autofill feature, it's like copying and pasting. It does the same work of copying and pasting. So remember we said if you copy and paste cells that has formula, it will copy the formula and not the value in the cell. So it's like we are copying and pasting. So it has copied the formula, like we rightly said. But we notice that it is, it keeps going down. We want it to divide, we want all the cells here to divide by this I11. But it's not divided by I11. Okay, this divided by I11, if you look at the formula bar, J4 divided by I11. But the others are not divided by I11. So that means we need to fix this cell. We need to tell Excel that it is this exact cell we want to divide all these ones by. Did you get that? We want to divide all these ones by this exact. So that means we have to fix this cell. It has to become an absolute reference. We have to tell Excel that, hey, don't go down. Because what is happening here is that Excel just keeps going down. Keeps going down. Okay? The next one is saying J13. Keeps going down. So we tell Excel that we want you to fix this cell. So that Excel will understand that, okay, you are referring to just, you are telling it to divide each of these cells by this one alone. So let's delete all this. And we are going to fix this cell. This is how we're going to fix the cell. Equals to this, that's I4, divided by, you fix a cell by using the dollar sign. Dollar sign is shift 4 on my on Windows. So you start fixing a cell by using a dollar sign. So first of all, now this will now be dollar. You start with the dollar sign, then you now start referencing this cell. Sorry, this cell is what? Cell I11. Okay? The grand total that you want to fix is cell I11. So it will now be dollar 11. Now, did you notice something? This was instantly highlighted. Okay? So you click on enter. Now, that means you have fixed this cell. So if I now use the autofill feature and drag it down, remember same as copying and pasting, it will give me the exact thing I'm looking for. That means if you click on each of these cells, you discover that each of these was divided by the grand total. Did you see that? This is J5 divided by $I, $11. This is J6 divided by $I, $11. This is J7. So that means Excel understood that you are telling it to divide by this specific cell. If you did not put the dollar sign like we saw the other time, Excel will just keep going down. Okay, it will keep going down. Your division will keep the value you are dividing by will keep going down. It will not fix. It will not divide by this exact value. I hope you understand that. If you don't understand, you can ask me questions.